This lecture would be devoted to the Consumer Protection Act 2019 in relation to the functioning and working of coaching centers or coaching sector, in particularly the provisions of the Consumer Protection Act 2019 and the guidelines for prevention of misleading advertisements relating to coaching sectors in 2024. So, the main emphasis under this act would be the Central Consumer Protection Authority has advised coaching centers to strictly adhere to the Consumer Protection Act 2019 and those guidelines for the prevention of misleading advertisements in the coaching sector 2024. So the Central Consumer Protection Authority issued notices, and in particularly the very authority clearly outlines that it is essential that their representation are accurate, clear, and free from misleading claims or the concealment of important information from the consumers. Additionally, coaching centers should avoid making assurance of guaranteed success. Coaching centers must clearly disclose key details in their advertisements, including the student's name, rank, course type, and whether the course was paid. Disclaimers must be prominently displayed in the same font size as other important information to ensure consumers are not misled. Following the recent declaration of the results for examinations such as IIT, JEE, and NEET, the Central Consumer Protection Authority observed that coaching centers are not adhering to the guidelines for the prevention of misleading advertisements in the coaching sector 2024. So, considering the violation of the Act and the guidelines of 2024, the Central Consumer Protection Authority recently has issued notices to few coaching institutes pertaining to the following issues, in particularly guaranteed placement and selection, assurance of rank in JEE and NEET, violation of consumer rights and misleading advertisements and unfair trade practices, as we found under Section 2, Subsection 28 and Section 2, Subsection 47 of the Consumer Protection Act 2019. So, it has issued notices to almost 49 notices to coaching centers, around 24 coaching centers, and imposed total penalty of rupees 77.60 lakhs. So, considering these violations and guaranteed placement, selection, and assurance of rank in JEE, NEET, violation of consumers' rights, misleading advertisement, and unfair trade practices, including promised services not provided, admissions cancelled but fee not refunded, deficiency in service, non-portal refund of fees. So, The above mentioned claims and practices appear to be violating various provisions of the Consumer Protection Act 2019, including Section 2, subsection 28 and Section 2, subsection 47 of the Consumer Protection Act 2019 and those guidelines for prevention of misleading advertisement in coaching sector of 2024 or 2024. The guidelines for the prevention of misleading advertisements in coaching sector 2024 were issued on 13th November 2024. These guidelines prohibit coaching centers from making false or misleading claims, advertisements to promote their services, and from engaging in deceptive or unfair practices. These guidelines represent a vital step toward preventing the exploitation of students and ensuring that they are not misled by false promises or compelled into unfair contracts. The guidelines are framed to enhance transparency and fairness in the sector, helping students and their families make informed decisions based on accurate and truthful information. These guidelines supplement existing regulations and further strengthen the regulatory framework governing advertisements too in the coaching sectors in a significant move to protect consumer rights and ensure transparency in the coaching sector. The Central Consumer Protection Authority has issued 49 notices and imposed a total penalty of arrest 77.6 lakh on 24 coaching centers and directed them to discontinue misleading advertisements and unfair trade practices. The Central Consumer Protection Authority had earlier taken action against coaching centers offering services for competitive examinations, including Union Public Service Commission, and also in relating to IIT, JEE, NIT, Reserve Bank of India, and also NABARD, among others, reaffirming its commitment to ensuring that no false or misleading advertisements are made in contravention of the provisions of Consumer Protection Act 2019 and also in contravention of the guidelines made for the prevention of misleading advertisements relating to coaching sector in 2024. So, this is a major step taken by the Central Consumer Protection Authority in 2024 by issuing 49 notices to 24 coaching centers for misleading advertisements and in violations of the provisions of Consumer Protection Act 2019, so they are being imposed a total penalty by the Central Consumer Protection Authority in November 2024, and the very amount was as 77.60 lakh. And in this particular lecture, we have discussed regarding the very provisions of the Consumer Protection Act 2019 in relation to Section 2, Subsection 28 and Section 2, Subsection 47, which prohibits relating to misleading advertisements in relation to guaranteed placement and selection assurance and assurance of rank in JE and NET, and also in regards to violation of consumer rights and misleading advertisements in violation of the guidelines for prevention of misleading advertisements relating to coaching sectors, which were issued in 2024, and in particularly practices relating to unfair trade practices by most of the coaching centers in India. So, this valuable piece of discussion relating to Consumer Protection Act 2019 and the guidelines for the prevention of misleading advertisements by the coaching sector of 2024 that we have discussed in detail, and how it would prevent misleading advertisements and unfair trade practices, and giving guaranteed placement and selections, and also assurance of a rank in JE and NET, as it would be considered as violation of consumer rights, so also violation of those guidelines which prevent misleading advertisements by the coaching sectors issued in 2024.